When he says good, I'm good.
Good.
3, 2, 1.
Well, thank you for joining the podcast today. We had this idea on the bike that let's get together, let's have a conversation. And I guess I really want to start with, I heard this beautiful quote which said, every area of your life you don't empower, someone else overpowers it. And spending time with you, and I've seen you spend decades powering so many areas of your life, from your health to wealth to fitness to business to spirituality to relationship. Talk to us about, how did you embark this journey? How did you get to where you are today?
Man, thanks, Nav. That's a lovely question. I think in truth, the answer is that a lot of my life, I've been to 8 different schools. A lot of my life, I've had the feeling that I never got it. Actually, when I've looked back through my life at the real reasons which have driven me to do what I do now, which is basically helping people with personal development and really trying to master personal development within my own self, whether that's financial, fitness, relationships, spiritual, whatever. I genuinely do really care about it. And when I think about why, it's because I have found our voids in our past end up creating a lot of our values in the present day. So what I mean by that is, for me, I went to 8 different schools, in primary and high school. I grew up with 2 older boys, in my family friend circle, and I actually got bullied a lot. And there was a 4-year age gap, which at that age is a really big one. And for me, I kind of felt when I was growing up, like I didn't get it. Like I wasn't one of the cool kids. I never just got it. I never understood. And I also, because of those boys, no fault of their own, we were all young. Because I got bullied, I kind of felt like I got put down. So it was like I felt like I got put down. I felt like I never understood. And I felt like I was never included. And so I think as I got older, I came to value the opposite. I came to value wanting to understand, because I felt like that pain of never understanding. And I came to value helping others, because I feel like I really felt the pain for a long time of feeling like I needed help and I wasn't getting it. That's how I felt, and I really love helping people feel included. I've got coaching groups and communities. And that's because I feel like I wasn't, So I think that's sincerely what's led me to value this. And that's one way of answering how I am the way I am now.
Yeah, it's a very interesting thing you said, like you love helping people. And I want to ask, if you love helping people, you could help men, you could help women, you can help so many different varieties. What led you to this path of why men? And specifically, as you see, we both are men. We both are on an entrepreneurial journey. Last month was Men's Mental Health Month. So why men? Like, why are you so passionate about it?
I think I was born to do it. I really think I was born to do it, man. I think that if you look at my past, because it's true, like we do have a lot of women coming up to us, right, as clients. But the reason I think in my heart I'm deeply passionate about helping men, I think there's a couple of reasons. Number one, on the surface level, I think that in a way men have, through ego and strength and everything, overpowered women and created a patriarchal world in some places that I'm not trying to be political. I'm not trying to make it wrong, but I am trying to say that in a lot of ways men have a lot of influence. And I think that it's like with that great power comes great responsibility. So it's like, cool. The way that our current status quo is, the man is still the leader of the household. The man still does, I think, earn more. The man still has a lot of influence. So that's fine. But if that's the case, we really better do our best job, if we're entrusted with that level of leadership. That's point number one. And then for myself personally, Nav, I had a lot of issues with my dad growing up. And as I mentioned before, like I got bullied a lot when I was growing up by the two older boys that I grew up with. So I feel like growing up, I really experienced what felt like a huge lack of guidance from the masculine role models that were present in my life. And as a result, I think in order to heal myself from that kind of, whether you call it trauma or whatever, like the residue of having a difficult relationship with your dad, of being bullied a lot when you grow up. When you heal yourself, you kind of become very, very skilled in understanding the little nuances of what men need to get out of their own way and be good people and be the best version of themselves. But I think it also leaves a mark in you that really makes you want to care to help other men do the same, it's quite a deep reason, but those would be why.
Was there a reason, or was there a moment, or was there like a feeling or an event which happened and you knew, yes, that's it, that's men? Were you training? Did you talk to us about your journey? Talk to us about how did you embark on, I know you've spent a lot of money, you've flown into LA, you've trained under many, many, many good mentors, you've trained under Tony Robbins. Talk to us. How have you incorporated all that, and how are you serving, how are you helping men when they come to you? And also specifically elaborate for us, what does a journey of a man with you looks like in your programs?
Thank you, man. I think there's a few questions there. I think the first one to be valuable to answer, man, is like you're asking what's made me choose this as a life path. Is that correct?
Correct. Was there a moment? Was there a feeling? Was there a inclination? Was there a specific event which you remember, that's it, that's what I'm going to do?
Thank you, man. It's it brings tears to my eyes genuinely, because it is a real, bro, here's what it is. Ages 4 to 14, I got profusely bullied by the kids I grew up with. Ages 14 to 21, I would feel suicidally depressed every winter. And for me, my bro, I really went through times, especially through high school, where I really didn't know how I was going to get through. Like I kind of would just go like, okay, cross my fingers. I really hope I make it through this winter. And I really do feel like I was saved by angels that I didn't do anything, even though I really like planned the journey the whole way out. This is true, man. And when I was 21, I really asked myself the question, like, what is it worth going on for? What is it worth living for? I really asked myself that question, man. And I saw the Donate Blood Red Cross van, and it says if you donate blood, you save 3 lives. And I thought to myself, okay, fine. Like, maybe I'm not going to get this girl that I want to get. Maybe I'm not going to be an aeronautical engineer. Maybe I'm not going to be a fighter pilot like Will Smith. Maybe all the things I want to do, maybe I'm not going to do it, right? But it's still worth staying alive to help others, man. And like that was the conclusion I came to when I was 21, and I didn't know it at the time, but I think that planted the seed that has driven me for the last like 15, 16 years, because I went to donate blood, and it was obviously very meaningful, and you feel really good, and it made me go, okay, like, even if my dreams can't come true, there's still a purpose for me to be on this earth, And a bit later that year, a friend of mine said to me, Dim, do you know if you like this charity stuff, you can go to like a third world country and build orphanages and stuff like that. And within 2 weeks of him telling me that, I had booked a flight to Costa Rica, where I went to go build orphanages. And as you can imagine, that is so fulfilling, man. And so then I got into corporate and I'm just like, man, what is this? This is not fulfilling at all to me. It was completely meaningless. So when I was 23, I followed the same formula. I booked a flight and I came to Bali for the first time, and we built a kindergarten in Bali, And then, man, like by the time I was 25, I had achieved a lot for my age, bro, because I had I was a project manager, had been in the army. On LinkedIn, I looked great. But I achieved like what felt like a pinnacle, like a micro pinnacle of my like career, not that I cared. And I just felt empty, man. I remember coming into work And then that whole day, I couldn't lift up a pen because I'm like, who cares if we delivered this project? Who cares if we made the clients happy? Who cares about any of this stuff? Like, I really just didn't care about the corporate stuff, man. And so I quit my job and I went to Africa because there's a book called The Way of the Superior Man. And in The Way of the Superior Man, he goes, hold true to your deepest truth, even if it hurts. Honor your deepest truth, even if it hurts. So no matter what you're going through, listen within yourself and hear what you believe your intuition is trying to tell you. And my intuition was telling me, dude, corporate is not for you. Go to Africa. Go do more of this charity stuff. And I felt purposeless, man. And you know, in that book, he says, if you want to know your purpose, start with what gives you a sense of energy. Because if you can lean in to what you feel is giving you a sense of energy, that will at least give you some meaning and some joy back in your life. And then that'll light the way for you. So, bro, I went to Africa. And when I was in Africa, I discovered personal development books. And I felt, Nav, that I found the answers I had been looking for my whole life, man. Because I was asking deeper questions of like, you know, the status quo, the 9 to 5 was not enough for me. I did want to do something meaningful and meaningful and fulfilling with my life. And I was not willing to settle for anything less. I did, man. That's just the honest thing. And so when I got back from Africa, bro, I was a different person, man. And I went from earning $60,000 a year to $200,000 a year while I was still 25 because of what I learned in those personal development books. And a big one was just honoring your inner voice, like just trusting yourself. And I didn't, if someone had told me before I went, Dim, you don't trust yourself enough, I wouldn't have understood what that meant. But I think 6 months away, traveling through Africa, I had no one to lean on but myself. So I had to like really get to know myself and my own inner voice and trust that, bro, even if it didn't make sense. And so because of that, I was earning all that money, and my original goal was, why don't I become financially free through property and just spend my rest of my life building orphanages, you know? And so by the time I was 29, I had bought 6 properties in Sydney, and I was sharing what I learned on Instagram about the personal development stuff. So I started to get all these young guys coming to me asking me for help. And that's what got me into this 8 years ago now. You know, I'm not sure if I fully answered your question.
You know, when I listen to you, I've walked the same path or similar path. And I understand when you say, you know, to listen to your inner truth. And even if it's like walking into wilderness, for you as Africa, I walked the Camino. And part of me also thinks that, you know, if someone was listening to this and they were working 9 to 5 and they had a relationship, they have friends, they catch up with, and I would listen to this and think to myself, yeah, but I don't know what my inner voice is and I don't know how to trust it. So could you guide people listening to this? How do you trust that inner voice? What is that inner voice? Where does it come from your experience?
What a magnificent question, man. You know, in the Bible, it says, be still and know that I am God. What that means is, man, it comes from stillness. It's ever more complicated when our phones and everything is so accessible to not be still, to have our minds stimulated all the time. And man, I'm not trying to tell anyone what to do, but I can say this. If you keep ignoring your inner voice, your body, your circumstances, your everything will give you feedback to eventually force you to crash and listen. And I'm not above that. I have been humbled many, many times by just the noise of the world and the anxiety it creates. So for me, I've just learned, okay, for myself, I need to take a step back into stillness. I need to retreat. I need to like get away from the noise and just hear what's inside. And I would say, from everything I've learned, what I've just given is borderline the universal answer. Everyone is saying like, you need to just get away from the noise and just have some space with your own thoughts, and it starts to come through. You can hear it.
Yeah, thanks for that. You know, one of the things I've noticed, and we are fortunate enough that we have traveled around Bali, we have looked around things. What I have seen that when people listen to this voice from Eckhart Tolle, even you are mentioning, they almost sway towards just listening to their inner voice. And then they get into this hermetic mode and they just wake up and they're flowing. How does that work in context to this 3D world, in this reality, when you do have bills, you want to have a family, you want to go to do the best things? What is the balance, or what have you seen from experience working with all these people along the years? How do people actually dream about something, sit with their dreams to know what is true, and then actually get it to life?
That is a magnificent question, man. And I think kind of what you're saying is like, you come to Ubud and you see all these spiritual people like lost in terms of like wanting to get to know themselves and do all the spiritual stuff. But in all that, like, how do you bring that into the real world and pay your bills, without getting lost? So I think that a lot of the mainstream are afraid of that, which is why they never even start, which I understand. I think how you integrate that, and even though I try to curate programs to help people through this in a more balanced way, I think for the listener, what I would say, man, is that practically speaking, it's like we have a muscle that's been created in terms of dealing with the 3D world, in terms of dealing with bills and jobs and logistics and whatever. But we have completely underdeveloped the other muscle, which is listening to ourselves, processing out, like just being conscious with our emotions, processing our inner stuff, learning about our inner world. We're completely underdeveloped in that area. I would actually say, practically speaking, you need to kind of take a moment where you do step out, you do immerse yourself in this area to grow that muscle enough. And then a time will come where you do the immersion enough, but then a time will come where okay, it's time for me to bring this home now. It's time for me to face the music. So you've kind of got to sway this way, do a little bit here, and then come back this way. And then in that journey, I find that you end up slowly finding a way to integrate the two. It starts off quite extreme, I would say, and then you find a way to integrate it more. That's how you...
Why do you think people are so afraid of facing the music? Because, even here you mentioned that, you can do all these personal development things. You can know everything about everything. And I'm guilty of this myself. I've spent a lot of times, a lot of money learning about personal development. But now as I'm on the path, I'm running my business, I'm growing my business. One thing I've noticed, it's really hard. But why do you think people are so afraid of facing that music or facing themselves in the mirror?
Bro, it's an incredible question. I would say that the biggest, if you really want to know how much you're going to grow, it is in direct proportion to your ability to be self-honest. So I think that a lot of people are too scared to be self-honest. I can talk about how to manage that. I think the first step is being able to call yourself out on your own BS. So if you know, like in The Way of the Superior Man, he says, know your real edge and don't fake it. So actually just be real about who you are, because if you're real about who you are, you're more trustable to others. For me, that was the learning that I received that helped me integrate this and really believe in the importance of being self-honest. Because it's like, if I'm lying to myself, and at some level I know it, then I'm not of much use to other people. So it's better for me to just be real about who I am and my shortcomings, like what I'm good at. Because here's the good thing about admitting your shortcomings. If you have the courage to admit your shortcomings, you'll also find you have the courage to admit your strengths. So as a result, if you have the courage to go, yep, this is where I'm at, this is what I can do, and this is where it's what I can't do, it makes you more of a service to other people. So I actually think that so many problems can be solved if we actually care about helping other people. I think it's funny. And putting yourself in the right environment helps, but I would say for the people listening, if they don't have the courage to be self-honest, putting themselves in the right environment is not going to be practical advice for them. I actually think that it's going to start with realizing that you're going to grow more, you're going to get more out of life, you're going to be more satisfied, more fulfilled. You're going to grow more because you're more honest about where you're actually at.
Yeah. You know, Tim, I swear to God, I don't know who's watching this and who's going to listen to this. And I can truly feel there is someone sitting there, and I don't know why I'm feeling this way. And you know what I feel like? Yeah, but you have been doing this for 10 years and you are lucky. You had money and you did personal development, and that is why you're able to sit here and preach this gospel. But that's not true for me, because my life is very hard. You know, I have a relationship and, you know, I like her, I don't like her. I have to pay bills. I want to travel the world. I want to serve and I want to do that. But you've been doing this for 10 years. You know, there's that voice inside me, which is, I'm pretty sure someone's going to sit there and preach this gospel. So how do they deal with this? Because I really just want to make sure that this message goes across to people who really need to hear it, because people who are on this path will take that one thing you've said and transform whatever they are doing. But there's loads of people, man. I've been one of them, you know. I'm like, well, it's easier for you. So how do they deal with that?
Man, I would love to ask you that. I would love to ask you how you overcame that, man. Because for me, my answer is, bro, if you don't want to be saved, you're not gonna be. If you don't want to be saved, man, you gotta want to help you. Not you, now. I'm just saying, in like for people watching, you gotta want to help yourself more than I can help you. For anyone to be actually able to help you, you gotta want to help yourself first. And if the reality is, bro, you don't want to help yourself, then if you don't want to be saved, I'm not gonna save you. Like, you know, I used to try, and then I realized that if someone is not invested in wanting to help themselves, like no matter what it's like an empty pit, man. So I don't even waste my, like, everyone knows, like I reckon the irony is the people who get it and who don't have an issue with this completely understand what we're talking about. And what we're talking about is victim mentality. You know, I think the real question you're asking, man, is like, how do you help someone who has victim mentality, like, break out of that? The truth is, for me now, I just say, bro, do you want to help yourself or not?
Yeah.
Because if you don't, like, go waste a therapist's time. You know, well, what do you think? How did you get out of that? Can I ask? I know you're interviewing me, but can I ask?
But you know, like the way I was thinking, you were talking about, like, hey, first step is self-honesty. So like I was thinking, I'm sitting there, I'm watching this, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm honest with, like, and then the next fear which comes up for me is like, well, you've done this for 10 years, you've gone through this journey, and it's going to be a huge walk for me to get to where you are. And because the difference is so huge in my mind, I probably don't even want to start, or I'm paralyzed by the lack of any guidance or lack of a path forward, you know. That's where I was going with this, because I was just trying to create a roadmap in someone's mind. That's that, nice. Okay, you're honest. I get it. Okay, I need help.
Yeah.
I now know that you are there and I probably need help from you. But then I think that mountain to climb is so far away.
Yeah.
And that's where, if we can give some guidance, or
but
you can share.
Yeah, I would just say, bro, Dim's mountain and Nav's mountain is not that person's mountain. You know, we all got our own mountain. It's not about that is victim mentality, man. And I'm glad that you pointed it out, because at the end of the day, if anything that is not you focusing on the present moment and what helps you get to your goals, it's a distraction and a waste of energy. And it's an opportunity for you to distract yourself. Dude, focus on your own circle of concern. Here's a nice framework maybe for people. There's your circle of concern and there's your circle of influence. Whatever circle you focus on is the circle that's going to grow. So if you focus on your concerns, you're going to find you have more concerns. right? If you focus on your influence, you're going to find you can influence more, right? So the question is, are you focusing on what you're concerned about, or are you going to focus on what you can influence? Whatever you focus on grows.
Yeah, I love that saying where the energy flows where the attention goes, and whichever circle you want to pay attention to, that's where your energy will go. And if someone is listening and creating a roadmap in their head, so first step is, be honest to yourself. If you want to help people, if you want to go into corporate, if you want to serve, you want to create business, then go do that. Second step is seek help and understand what help do you need and where the mountain is, and don't compare yourself. And I think one of the biggest thing you're pointing out is like, don't compare yourself with my mountain or your mountain. Figure out what exactly is for you. Is that what
Precisely, man, precisely. And furthermore, you don't, if you're watching this and you're getting hopefully value out of it, and you realize that, man, you probably are focusing on other people's stuff instead of focusing on your own business, just realize that Nav's mountain, if you're only seeing the good parts of Nav's mountain, you're discounting all the hardships that he's gone through and that he's still going through, and me, right? You're not, bro, bro, comparing yourself to others, you don't have enough data to truly compare yourself to them. You don't actually know what they're going through to compare yourself. So it's dumb.
Yeah, it's amazing because, I remember in 2015, I had this feeling that it's time for me to leave Australia. I left my job as a director of cybersecurity, and I came to Bali, and I wanted to build this business. And then one thing led to another. And one of the key significant happened for me was when I lost my dad in August, and it's almost coming up to 1 year. And that led me to walking the Camino. And I remember it wasn't until October or November when I had this feeling, and I know you help people. It's not even like, we don't even need to go far. We don't even need to, I'm sitting here, testimony of things, when I know I have a best friend of mine who's into men's coaching. He can help me with, even I didn't come to you for help. And it took me like 7-8 months, and to spend some time. And then I remember I was about to go back to Australia for a wedding, and then I returned back on my bike, and I was like, hey, would you help me? And that helped me go through this path of like, okay, then came the retreat, then we figured out a plan, and then I'm executing on the plan. And ironically, when I was in Australia in my corporate job, I was thinking, well, I want to do business. I want to be an entrepreneur. And now when I'm on this journey, I realized that it's like the most sophisticated and yet simple way of doing personal development, because every single problem I have inside me, so if I lie to myself, it's going to show in my business. If I don't manage, don't exercise, don't train, then the sales will drop. Like there's direct correlation to that. And one of the things you've been significant, at least in my part of life, is that you were able to help me and guide me through that process. So what I want to ask you, Dim, is like, when you meet people, and I'm sure you've had thousands of conversations around this, people wanting to seek your help and guidance, could you tell from experience that there is an opportunity that this person will make it, or this person is just wasting time?
Yeah. In fact, you would know, Nav, that I recently kicked someone out of a coaching program because I felt like they were wasting their time, and most importantly, they were wasting mine. so man, and they were ruining the group dynamic. So here's how you know you're going to make it, because you're committed to making it no matter what. If you're coming in to a coaching environment and you're taking the piss, you're okay to like spend ages articulating your question because you've got the luxury of the time. You're not fully, you know when you're fully committed or not. You left your job to freaking do this business. And actually, if you look at everyone in my coaching programs, they actually all left their job because they're fully in. They're fully committed, man. So that's, and my flavor is not right for everyone, but it doesn't bother me. I don't really want to work with half-assed committed people because it's a lie. So man, like, yeah, I know if someone's going to make it or not, because here's how you know if someone's going to make it, bro. I remember once hearing Eric Thomas tell this story. He goes, here, I'm going to teach you how to make it in business. I'm going to teach you how to make it in any area of your life you want, right? He says, he goes, 9 a.m. tomorrow, come to the beach with me, right? We're going to talk about business. So the next morning, this guy goes to the beach. He's dressed in a suit because they're going to go talk about business. And then the mentor says, come out here into the ocean. Come out here. Let's walk out into the ocean. And the guy's like, hey, man, I'm wearing a suit. And he goes, hey, man, do you want my help or not? Right? So then the guy goes, okay, fine. I'm going to walk out into the ocean, but I'm wearing a suit. And I'm just getting, he's like, hey, keep coming. So he walks himself into the ocean wearing a suit, and the water's like up to here. Right? And then the mentor grabs his head and forces it underwater, right? Right? I don't know if you've heard this story, right?
Yeah,
but he's holding his head underwater, and then the guy's kicking and screaming, and he's kicking and screaming. And then eventually the mentor lifts his hand, and the guy comes out and he goes, why did you do that? Why did you do that to me? And then the mentor says, when you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, that's what you're actually going to need to make your first $1 million. Like, that's actually what you're going to need. And actually, I vehemently believe that until we're at a point where our intensity is high enough, because here's the thing, man, the old way you were was compatible with being in corporate or whatever, right? But that version of you is not compatible of being a CEO and an entrepreneur and making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year through your whatever business. They're two different versions of you. So you can't stay. And the thing is, this version of you has a gravity that is keeping you into old habits and old routines and old ways of thinking and fears and everything. So you have to have an incredible level of energy to break you out of that inertia and get you into this new version of being. And that's why that analogy of like, you need to want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe. That's the only way it works. That's what I believe.
You know, one of the things you are a very big advocate of, and I would love for you to share and talk about, is I've noticed that it's not just about business, right? Like in business, there's many fields. Like there's sales, there's marketing, there's content creation, all of these things, right? But one of the big things you talk about is state management and health. Why do you suggest people to make sure their health is in order? Because that's a big thing you talk about, and state management specifically, and even you touched on it just now.
Yeah. Well said. So one of the biggest things that people struggle with, and I'm telling you this for real, man, is consistency. Actually, my bro, most people know what they're supposed to do. If you talk to most people, they'll tell you, if you talk to them, they'll probably know what they're supposed to do. They'll probably know what they're putting off. They'll probably know what is actually going to help them build their business. But then if you ask them, why are you not doing it? Why are you struggling with your consistency? It's usually because they end up feeling tired, or they talk themselves out of it, or they get in their own way. They have negative self-talk. Here's the thing, man. If you're happy, it's hard to have negative self-talk. If you're happy, it's hard to doubt yourself, man, right? If you're feeling energetic, you're more biased to believe that you can do something, right? And especially, it depends on what kind of entrepreneur you are, but if you do sales calls, if you're in a crappy, energetic state, like, it's going to be a really tough sales call, man, you know? So that's actually why, as an entrepreneur, and this is why Tony Robbins, people don't get it when Tony Robbins talks about energy, but actually, man, like, the biggest, what is money? It's energy, right? Like, so what are you exchanging to get that money? You're exchanging energy. So it starts with you generating the energy to keep yourself in a good mood, to keep yourself consistent, to keep yourself going. That's actually where it starts. So that's why, like, so what is going to generate that energy? It's you and your health and your body, man.
Yeah, I have a couple of scenarios I want to run past, and I would love to get your feedback on those scenarios. Number one I want to talk about, which I hear a lot, is that I know what I want to do, but I can't seem to do it. Example could play out this way, that, okay, I'm a person who helps someone in relationship, but then that person could say, well, I have now mastered that relationship, so they feel imposter in their head.
Yeah.
You could have someone who is entrepreneur, but then they don't go into business coaching because they want to master the business coaching first, so they don't feel imposter. What are your thoughts on imposter syndrome? I know what I need to do, but I can't seem to do it. This is a standard thing we hear on social media and around our friends group and people we speak with.
So the question is, how do you help people with imposter syndrome?
Yeah. So how can they help themselves if you have any guidance for them?
So how does someone help themselves? And the scenario is that they feel like, who am I to? Can you give me the
Yeah.
scenario?
So for example, let's say they are so good at helping people in relationships,
I see.
but they don't have their own relationship. So then they are worried that if I go help people, even though I don't know how this works, they have this magic, but yet they are in this imposter. Like they are, well, if I go out there, people will say, well, you can't even have your own relationship. Why are you helping other people?
Right.
And this voice kills their dream. And that can apply to money coaching, that can apply to health coaching. So how do you help these people, or what can they do if they were listening to you?
Man, you know what? I think it's a gorgeous question. And the answer that I found that has helped me the most and helped my clients the most is just help. Just help. Just be a human and help. And don't so if you're out there and you're struggling with imposter syndrome, here's what I would say to you. Don't worry about trying to be this big shiny guy on LinkedIn or whatever your LinkedIn or whatever says. Like, don't worry about that. Bro, there's a human in front of you. Just help them in whatever honest way you can. That's it. That's it. Just help people. That's what it's about. It's not about pretending you are this big thing, because that'll always, in my view, give you imposter syndrome, because you're not always this big thing all the time. You're not. So what is imposter syndrome? It's your own mind trying to bring you back into authenticity, man. So don't worry about it. Just help people. Imposter syndrome to me is selfish. It's selfish. It's making it about you. Man, I never emceed anything before. I had never really been on a mic before, and then in 1 year I emceed 5 weddings. I don't know if you know this story, bro. In 1 year I emceed 5 weddings, and people were like, "Dim, wow, you're so good on the mic." Why? Because, bro, it wasn't about me trying to be this amazing dude on the mic as an MC. I just wanted to help people. I just wanted to help them do the event. And in doing that, it's like you get out of your own way and you connect to just the people in front of you. That's the answer. That's the only answer that I think lasts the test of time.
Yeah. So what you're saying is get out of your own way, just help the person in front of you. And instead of thinking, what will other people think of me when I try to do this, just work, let the results, let the process take care of everything else.
I would say so, man. And also just don't lie about what you can and can't help people with, because just listen to their question. And if you can help them with that question, help them. That's it. And then if you can't, and it's out of your experience, say that you can't.
Yeah. I want to ask you about relationships a little bit. I want to talk about specifically, I have observed, and I've noticed this on social media and talking to a lot of my friends, people, especially men who are successful, they seem to have nailed the business element, their growth element. I was even talking to a guy at a coffee shop yesterday. He's got multiple properties, entrepreneurial mind, but then he was struggling to be in a relationship with someone. How does this correlation works? Have you also noticed that people who come to you and they learn from you and they become part of your cohorts, how do they maintain their relationships and how do they become better in relationship? Because one of the things we human beings feel really grateful for and we feel really helped by is having close people around us, that is friends, that's intimate relationship. So I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Cool, man. And specifically, can you help me understand the question? I'm sorry, man.
Yeah. So I would love to hear, how does a man who's in entrepreneurial journey also can maintain their relationship while they are working on their purpose?
That is a magnificent question. And I actually think I'm in a place where I can give a really good, unique answer, because I have seen really, really, really successful entrepreneurs in magnificent relationships, and I've asked them about it. And I've seen really, really successful entrepreneurs suck at relationships. So I've seen both. Here's what I think. Okay, for an advanced person listening to this who is an entrepreneur, who is struggling to have good relationships, here's the first belief that I would help you install. A good relationship will help you make more money. A good relationship leads to a better you, and a better you makes more money. So that's the belief that for an advanced person, I would help them recognize genuinely at a soul level. A big reason entrepreneurs struggle in relationships is because they don't know how to do relationships well, number one. So therefore, they get shitty results, and then they experience a worse work life because they're feeling crap in their relationship life. So it's worth committing to relationship mastery as you have committed to business mastery. But here's the gorgeous thing. If you commit to relationship mastery and recognize it's going to take a minute, it's going to take a minute to get good at relationships. Here's the wonderful thing, man. Nothing in life is going to empower you more than having a gorgeous relationship, because a gorgeous relationship is like a gorgeous, for me, it's like living in Ubud. It's like a gorgeous environment that you're in, which fills you up and makes you like three-dimensional where you were two-dimensional before. So the biggest thing I would say, man, is like, I know entrepreneurs who have really nice relationships and are making so much money. Man, it's because they have a level of relationship mastery. I can break down what that means, but if you are willing to invest in creating relationship mastery, you're going to have fulfilling relationships, which means you're probably going to be filled with so much energy and self-belief and empowerment and a level of drive that you've never experienced before, that you can make more money with. That's for sure what it is.
You know, Tim, I read this, or I think someone sent it to me 8 to 10 years ago, that when you stand and hear your story in an empowering way, your story heals you and your story heals someone else. And I would love to hear from you about your journey on this path of relationship, because I know that every area of life you get into, you go for mastery. So we've spoken about health. We've spoken about importance of health in business context. We've spoken about business. We've spoken about purpose. And now I would love to hear more about your path on relationship and how has that helped you on your purpose. And if someone was listening to this, I find that sometimes hearing a story really hits home. And I love how you articulate things. So I'd love to hear more about that.
Man, thank you. Here's what I learned a long time ago. Your relationship, if you're a straight guy, your relationship with a woman is mirrored by your relationship with the world. So if you want to master your relationship with the world, master your relationships with women. I remember hearing that because it's both feminine energy. You know, if you're a masculine guy in a relationship, you're typically going to have a feminine girlfriend, and that feminine girlfriend is going to always seem like ever changing. Sometimes she's happy, sometimes she's sad, sometimes she just needs your presence, sometimes she needs you to help her with something. You know, sometimes she's just going to be really joyful with you. Sometimes she really needs you to commit and really be present with her and make her feel safe. Someone once articulated to me that that's actually what the world is like on a bigger scale. You know, your relationship with a woman is the microcosm. So I went on a big journey in my 20s to look to master my relationships with women. Not so much intimate relationships, though that comes with the territory, but in general with women. So some of my oldest friends for like almost 20 years or more have been women, you know, and I grew up with female friends. So I feel like I've just been given this unique opportunity to grow up with women, to understand women, you know, in a gorgeous way. I'm actually very passionate about this area, man. Not a lot of people know that, but what I would say on the relationship front, if you're a single guy and you you want to get better at your relationships with women, I would say this: recognize that the world is feminine. So if you're single and you wanna ideally find a girlfriend, and I've helped a lot of men find girlfriends, and you know, a lot of those girls are their wives now. First, master your relationship with the feminine energy all around you. Appreciate the feminine energy all around you. Create a positive ecosystem. So what does that mean? Like, instead of just being in your room, just working, and then just having a very 2D life, go out there to a waterfall. Go out there hiking or jogging in nature. Go out there and immerse yourself in feminine energy, which is nature, which is movement, which is life, the thing that gives you a sense of life and joy. Create a life and a schedule which is like a positive ecosystem, an abundance of feminine energy and joy. And then the irony is, when you can create a life which is actually very lovely and fulfilling like that, because you're just doing cool things that you're really interfacing with life, you're going to find with time, like, your relationship with the fact that you can't control everything, and it's actually just more about appreciating and being there and experiencing, while having some sense of direction that you're taking the journey in. That's effectively the best relationship skill you can bring to an intimate relationship. And I tend to find, like at a more spiritual level, that energy of your soulmate, it's in one or many forms. So right now, I know for myself personally, my soulmate is in many forms. It's in the people. It's in the females that I know who are my friends, and the people that I flirt with at cafes, and in the food, and in the nature, and this whole environment. That is my soulmate, and I feel like I'm in love with it, and that's a gorgeous thing. And when the time comes where in my subconscious mind, I believe that it's going to be of more value for me to receive my soulmate through one form as opposed to many, then I know that all that many is going to collapse into one, and then you have your soulmate. And if you're single and you want to know how to find your soulmate, that's what it is. She's with you. She's just in many forms. It's about appreciating the forms that she's currently in, and in a subconscious level, wanting it to be in one form as opposed to many. Because if you've just diffused it into many, it's because at a subconscious level you believe it's more convenient and safer for you to receive the feminine in the many. So I believe it's about appreciation of what's in front of you.
I saw that recently you posted about a very beautiful carousel which talked about a Sydney man spent 100,000 something to fly to LA, and what you were trying to share in that is life lessons. You were not talking about anything around dating. Of course, the context was that. Could you talk to us about what was your initial point? And you did get a lot of flack for it.
Yes.
So if someone was listening and who were skeptic and who were on this flack side of the world, what are they projecting onto you? And instead of listening to your message, because if they listen, they will realize what you're trying to say is not what they are thinking. Could you talk to us about that post? How did you come up with that? Because I really got attention recently, right?
Yeah. That post got 100,000 views, and I got a lot of flack for it because it was about picking up women, or at least that's what it looked like on the surface. Man, if you actually read the post, what that post was actually about was learning to have positive relationships with people in general. And how you have positive relationships with people is you have to have the courage to get out of your own way, out of your own negative self-talk, and just share positive energy with man, woman, and child. If you can get out of your own way and share positive energy with man, woman, and child, you will naturally become more attractive. And then the people who want to be attracted to you will. That's actually what true pickup is about. But, a lot of people, I don't think they even read that post, and they made it about something else. And yeah, I got a lot of flack for it, but hopefully it helped at least one person. If it did, it's worth it.
I know that you have your retreats. I believe it's Fire Pit, and you do EO retreat as well. If someone was listening to this and they were like, I really like the way you speak and you can help me, how can they connect with you? What does that journey looks like for them when they are with you?
What does the journey look like when they're in a program with me? Right. Or how do they connect with me?
How do they connect with you? How do they get into a program? What are the things you offer?
A lot of people, man, connect with me through Instagram. I never even met them before, and they connect with me through Instagram. And so that's how they can connect with me. They can just add me on Instagram and send me a message and say, "Hey, Dim, I'm interested in, looking at the stuff that you do." There was actually a documentary that got made on one of my retreats. So usually, if someone's interested in working with me, I'll give them the documentary so they can see with their own eyes what I do. But in terms of how we help and why we have a track record of, like, so many guys now I've done this for 8 years. I've helped hundreds and hundreds of men. I've coached for more than 15,000 hours. I spent more than $250,000 learning all this stuff. And I've applied it and helped the boys make millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars as a result. So, and not to mention priceless relationships. So how do we do that? Man, if you look at Harvard's longest running study of adult development, or correlated studies that Harvard did in 2012, 2019, 2021, it's all saying the same thing about things that actually help people have a good life. The three core factors, no matter what study you want to look at on human development, the three core factors that have been proven to help people have a good life is purpose, internal clarity, community. That's it. If you look at what blue zones are basically places which are community rich, like Ubud in Bali. You feel like you're part of a community. So what that means is that when you have a rough day, instead of coming home and being lonely, you get to just see a few friends and it lightens the load. It's just those little unscheduled conversations, sporadic conversations that actually eases the pressure. That's the beauty of community. Why I'm speaking about this is because those three elements, purpose, internal clarity, and community, are 3 of the 5 core elements of any program that the boys do with me. So what we do first is we help them get to know themselves. That's the first principle in my coaching programs, know yourself. Because that is your internal compass that we were speaking about earlier. It's about helping you get to know your own values, your sense of purpose, your direction, what is meaningful to you. That's step 1. Then you actually kind of get the clarity on knowing where you want to go. Number 2 is helping you get out of your own way. Whether that's your own past, a lot of the boys who've come to me, they've come to me because they've had breakups before. And that's left like this residue where when they were in their early 20s, man, they were like these guys that were on fire. Like they had confidence and assertiveness and they were driven and they were going for it. And then they're in their 30s and they're wondering, man, when did I become this kind of sedated? When did I become kind of unconvicted and kind of pushing things away? When did I fall into these bad habits? And our job is to help bring the version of them that was 20, bring that guy back with the wisdom of them at 40. That's what we're doing. And that's what that second thing is about, the internal clarity. And that's the more therapeutic one-on-one layer. Number 3 is the right community. Number 4 is structure and routine. That's how you cement it in. And number 5 is execute. Execute like a madman. That's what's going to create the momentum to really build the new chapter. Yeah. So that's the actual methodology that we use.
Yeah. Very beautifully said. I think one of the things I do want to ask you about, and I have few people ask me as well, when they get on your Instagram, they see you screaming, they see you yelling at the beach, and that is one of your signature thing as well, which made you your name. How did you come up with that? Because I'm very curious.
Bless
and
you.
I would love people who want to know about that.
You know what? If you want to know the real answer, man, my favorite movie growing up was Lion King, right? My company is actually called Raw. That's the name of my company. And for me, Lion King is the story of a boy that got lost and then one day had to come face the music because he realized that he'd been running away from his responsibilities for too long and he could feel that internal dissonance. And he knew that he had to come back and fight and reclaim his sovereignty and his kingdom. That's the true message of that movie, Lion King. And at the end, when he reclaims his sovereignty, he roars. And I think the true reason I came up with that, Nav, is because before I knew NLP and timeline therapy and DeMartini method and somatic healing and inner child work and breath work, before I knew any of that shit, I was like, it doesn't matter what intellectual level you're at. If you're going through a hard time, bro, scream. Let it out. That's for me the one universal language that can just help someone. That's where I came up with it. It didn't matter what level you're at and what level I'm at. We can all just have a yell, and you'll feel better for it. That's where I came up with it.
And you know, the irony is that it may look like you're just yelling. If you were watching that video, it may look like, oh, you just go to a beach and then you scream at someone and they start yelling and then everyone's yelling and it's like craziness happening. However, that's a process. There's a whole process which is happening behind the scene, and now I've experienced it myself in Vietnam. And it's incredible because you go through like a limiting belief and you change your identity. So could you talk to us about how do you change that identity through this physical process? It's incredible.
Man, what it is we're in this world full of noise, and our ability for all of us to be distracted is very high. And if you've been feeling stuck for a long time, then the first step to help you getting unstuck is to get viscerally present about what you are doing to yourself. Meaning, you believing this limiting belief, you honoring these demons within you, whatever you want to call that, like that pain within you, really getting present to what that pain, this is going to sound kind of dark, but this is how you actually win, man. You honoring you recognizing what that pain that you've done to yourself, what it's cost you in your past and what it's costing in your present day. And if you keep on holding on to it, what it's going to cost you in your future, it stacks something called the pain threshold. If you want to know what makes humans move, it's two things: pain and pleasure, right? We want to get away from pain and we want to get towards pleasure. And we typically will do more to get away from pain than we do to get towards pleasure. So what I do in those processes where everyone's yelling and stuff on the beach, I mean, there's multiple things, but one of them is helping that person hit their pain threshold, because they're actually getting conscious to what their behaviors have cost them in the past and what it's costing them in the present day, and if they continue it, what it's going to cost them in the future. And it's locking them into that situation where they can't go back, they can't go present, and they can't go future. So the only way that they can just get out. And then you find that they open their mind up to a new way of being. And that's why it's such a beautiful, powerful process.
Yeah, it's I've witnessed it myself. I've seen it on the documentaries, and it's really a life-changing process which people come and experience, and they do change. So, you know, some of the books you read, sometimes people acquire a lot of personal knowledge. I mean, you can walk around, everyone knows everything about everything. But yet when you look at where they are with that implementation of the knowledge, they are not anywhere, you know. So one thing you mentioned just recently before this answer is that knowledge plus implementation equals to wisdom. Is
Yes,
that what you said?
beautifully
Could
said.
you talk about that? Because that's your signature thing. You talk about that in a lot of retreats of yours.
Man, I'm just sick of all these people talking about stuff and they don't actually have the actual wisdom to know what they're talking about. And then you cannot actually really help anyone else if you're just speaking some bullshit from a textbook and it doesn't mean anything. You can't even help yourself, bro. You can't even help yourself. So for me, I believe it's about actually being in the field. And, you know, I learned this when I was 21 in Vipassana with Goenka. And he goes, I can teach you all the knowledge in the world about what you're going to learn through from meditation. But if you're not meditating, you're not really receiving wisdom. So every new day that you do a full day of meditation is, I'm going to give you a new discourse and deepen your wisdom. Because only then you have the depth to understand what I'm talking about. Otherwise, you don't really have the context. It's just intellectual. And then you can't, if it's intellectual, you're not helping yourself and you're not helping other people. So you got to be in the field actually doing it, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. As a journey, it's been a beautiful conversation and it's been flowing really well. One thing I want to start ending this process is by asking you a question. If someone was listening to you, I know you work with specifically men, and feel free to extend this advice to women as well. what would be your message to them? If there was a young man, young woman, an old man, woman, in corporate, not in corporate, business, first year, second year, not making money, what would you tell them?
Man, what I would say is that you have the ability within you to make this world a far better place. You have the ability within you to do really well financially so that you can look after your parents and look after your family and look after your kids and look after your community and your extended family and your cousins. You have the ability to do what. So, why I really believe in personal development is because when you empower yourself financially, you can help people. When they have medical bills or they need to go to a retirement home or whatever, you can help people. When you empower yourself in your mental health, then if your friends are going through a hard time, you can help them. When you empower yourself through fitness, you don't become a burden to others, and furthermore, you can help other people. So I believe that you have the world being your oyster in terms of the ability of positive impact that you can have on this life, in this life. And the thing is, man, before we know it, we will be on our deathbed. Before we know it, we're going to be in our last days. And you can meet the person that you could have become. And hell is meeting the person you could have become and that person being completely different to you. That would be what hell would feel like. And to me, I want to get to my last days and really know, man, like I had this one shot at life that all these people in the world wars and everything, all these people died so that Dim has the experience to get to be on a podcast chair with you. So what am I, bro, can I quickly say this? Bro, when I was 14, my parents took me to Sri Lanka, right? We were in our village, right? These are the year 10 holidays. And I remember like driving through my mum's village and seeing all these kids that were my age walking like 10 kilometers to get home from school in the blistering heat. And I remember just thinking, man, it was nothing short of the roll of the dice that wasn't me. I was like, I am so lucky that I was the one kid in this village that somehow got out of here. So it's like, dude, what are you going to do with that opportunity?
Yeah. You already answered my last question. I was going to ask you, if today was your last day in this universe, on this earth, what would be that message, or what would you want to be known for? And it seems like you've already answered it, but feel free to finish this chat with that question. What would you be
what I'd be known for is, man, appreciate your life. That's what I would say, because we don't know when it's going to be over. Just appreciate your life. That's all. Yeah. Thank you so much.
This was a great chat.
Love you so much, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you for this beautiful chemistry and backwards and forwards. I really enjoyed. I mean, I love listening to you as well, and it's as much as it's helpful for other people, just being around you in that energy. It's also helpful for me to keep reminding myself to work hard. Make sure that I balance myself and just keep going towards my goals. So thank you so much for this conversation. That was so cool.